Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show where we think, act, and prosper. Glad to have you all with me. Today, I want to talk about the Social Security benefit crisis. This is something that's not getting a lot of attention. We recently had the presidential debate, and this didn't really get spoken about a lot. I think there was some reference to Medicare or whatnot, but this as a whole did not really get addressed. And this is something that is really important because people have to prepare for their own financial future and to really just think through like, okay, what is this going to look like when I reach the age of retirement, and is this going to be here for me? And so we're going to dive into that today. So let's go ahead and kick the intro. I hope that this blesses you all and that you all gain some value from this. So I'm going to kick the intro and we're going to get into it.
Think, act, and prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
All right. So we are here. Looking forward to getting into this discussion with you all today. So as we talk about Social Security, this is going to be a lot of information that some people know, some people may not know, but I think that everyone should know this and should be preparing. So the first thing we're going to jump into, I share this quite a bit, but we're going to jump into the financial situation of the United States. And so I've shared this quite a bit. This is the U.S. national debt clock. As you can see over here, we are 35 trillion in debt. We currently have a 6.9 trillion. That's how much we spent so far. And then we have a 1.9 trillion dollar budget deficit. So our annual budget is 6.2 trillion and we're already running over that. So I want to go ahead and look down here. So when you look at the largest budget items, currently Medicare is 1.8 trillion and Social Security is 1.4 trillion. And then when you look at the unfunded liabilities down here, total unfunded liabilities, these are liabilities. It's like, okay, the government has to pay this out. This isn't an asset where they're receiving some type of value or income. This is the money that they have to pay out. So we're sitting at 218, almost 19 trillion in unfunded liabilities. And as you can see, Social Security liability is 27 trillion and Medicare liability is 41 trillion. So it's pretty grim, but we're going to dive into it more. And feel free to post any questions that you may have as I lead you through this information today. All right, so next we're going to go over to the value of the dollar. Okay, so this is the value of the dollar. This is just a simple chart where it shows how much the value of the dollar was when it first was established, and then where is it at now? As you can see, $1 was about $25 when it first got established, and during this time, $1 was about 1/20th, 1/25th of an ounce of gold. And as you can see, the dollar declined here in the 20s. You had a rise in the dollar, and there's these historical stamps, things that have happened throughout time. So President Roosevelt criminalizes the possession of gold. That was the Gold Confiscation Act. And as you can see, as we get down to 2020, the dollar has lost significantly a lot of value. So it does not purchase you as much as it purchased you before. So I say that to say that even though Social Security may be around in the next 10 to 15 years, it most likely won't buy you as much as it buys you today, because as we continue to spend more, as we continue to increase the money supply and print more money, the value of the dollar is going to continue to decline. So the purchasing purchasing power of the dollar is going to continue to decline. And so, as you can see, these are some of the things that the money could buy you back then. I mean, $1 bought you 30 Hershey's chocolate bars back in 1913. $10 10 rolls of toilet paper in 1929, 10 bottles of beer 1933, 20 bottles of Coca-Cola 1944, 10 bags of pretzels in 53, 64. You could get a dollar one drive-in movie ticket. I mean, you can get 17 oranges, and then now $1 pretty much gets you one McDonald's coffee in 2020. So you look at what a dollar could get you back then. This is what it gets you now. So that is the eroding of the purchasing power of the dollar. So want to show that just so we can look at this. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into Social Security. All right. This is a chart posted by one of my favorite macro analysts, Lynn Alden, and she says one of the most stark visuals of the U.S. demographics is Social Security Administration's projection of when their reserves will run out 2035 compared to where they are now. It'll go down faster than up, according to the administration itself. So looking at this graphic, as we can see, the money is in millions, so I believe this is at 3 trillion. And as you can see, it's scheduled to decline by 2035. So in about 10 years, this fund, this Social Security Trust Fund, is scheduled to be depleted. So what needs to happen in between this time? It needs to get funded somehow. And so how does it normally get funded? Government spending is funded usually through taxpayers. Sometimes there could be some type of production miracle or trade and things of that nature. And right now, taxes are pretty low compared to historical tax rates and such. And so this has to get funded somehow. This spending of the government has to get funded. You and I are likely paying into the Social Security fund, and there is no money. There's scheduled to be no money there when I am, let's see, in about 10 years, I'll be 45, 46 years old, and it's scheduled to be depleted. All right. So we're going to jump over to this article that I saw on Market Watch, and we're going to read through this just to kind of get a more clearer picture of what this actually looks like. Okay. So this is an opinion, but it does have some facts in it. So Social Security is lurching towards a fiscal crisis. Trump and Harris must talk solutions at the debate. They didn't really talk much about it. So at the end, he gives kind of some projections for like what they should talk about and stuff. But some of it was touched on, some of it wasn't. All right. So a typical retiring couple would see their benefits cut by an estimated $16.5 thousand a year once the trust fund is depleted. Okay, so we just look at the chart of the trust fund. They're saying that, okay, the middle class couple, their benefits would be decreased, will be cut by $16.5 thousand per year. So in this first year's presidential debate back in June, Donald Trump and Joe Biden mentioned Social Security 15 times and Medicare 8 times. I hope these vital issues get a similar amount of attention today. It didn't. The tens of millions of Americans who heavily depend, and in many cases utterly depend, on the entitlement programs for their well-being, if not survival, deserve a clear, honest explanation from our next president about how Social Security and Medicare can be preserved. Survival is not a hyperbole, given these stats from the Social Security Administration. Among Social Security beneficiaries age 65 and older, 37% of men and 42% of women receive 50% or more of their income from Social Security. So as we can see, people that are 65 or older, 37% of the men and 42% of the women receive 50% of their income from Social Security. Also, among Social Security beneficiaries age 65 and older, 12% of the men and 15% of the women rely on Social Security for 90% of their income. So that is a significant, pretty much Social Security is their lifeline, their survival. Even for the prior group who relies on 50% or more. And yet we are just a few years from deep cuts, 21% to Social Security, unless something is done. Now, Social Security legislation hasn't been touched since the 80s. And now we're getting to this critical point where something has to be done about this. Those cuts, the trustees for Social Security estimate, would begin in 2033 when the reserves of the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund will become depleted. After that, recipients would only get monthly checks based on continuing program income, which would pay 79% of scheduled benefits. So we see that the funds that people are receiving today will be cut by 21% if nothing is done. So this is going to be a hot political topic coming up, especially as the years pass. And so I expect this to be a big topic in the future. Imagine being heavily or utterly dependent on Social Security and then having those benefits slashed by more than a fifth. Okay, so here's the numbers. A two-income couple retiring at the time of depletion would have their benefits cut by an average of $16,500 a year. Okay, this is a year. According to the calculation from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, a typical single income couple would see a cut of $12,400. So as you can see, the orange are two income households. The blue is single income households. And so if you see high income, if you're in the high income category, you could expect a cut of $21,800 per year. If you are married or whatnot, or in a domestic partnership, 16.3 thousand. That would be if you're single and in high income. Then you have 16.5 for median income, 12.4 for median income for single. Then you have 10,000 for low income, as well as 7.5 thousand for single low income. All right, so the trustees could theoretically dip into another reserve, the Social Security Disability Insurance Reserve, to pay out 83% of scheduled benefits into 2035. After that, with both reserves exhausted, the projected cut would be 17%. Now, here's some scary numbers right here, because this just shows like the magnitude of this and how much is draining on this Social Security fund. Like, because right now I just shared the chart. You see that here, I'm gonna share it again. You see that we're currently up here, and they're projecting us to be all the way back down here in 10 years. So what's going to be this big draw here? That's what we're going to discuss next. All right. So here it says, given that some 67 million Americans are receiving Social Security now, and that 10,000 baby boomers are retiring each day, the number of people getting Social Security will balloon over the next few years. So there's 10,000 baby boomers per day are retiring, and this was the biggest generation coming out of World War II. Many people were born after World War II. Parents may have fought in the World War and such, and this was the biggest generation. That's why they call them the baby boomer generation. People were having like 5-6 kids at that time. And so now you have 10,000 per day that are retiring. And I believe by 2030, every baby boomer will be the age of 65 where they can draw from retirement. The number of people getting Social Security will balloon over the next few years. So what is a big problem now is going to get a lot bigger and fast unless lawmakers get their act together. You might be saying, oh, that's a decade off, they'll fix it. But I've been writing about this for more than a decade now, since so far nothing has been done. And the polarization and bickering between Republicans and Democrats is worse than ever. The men and women who we send to Washington can't seem to get much of anything done when it comes to this problem. So, as you can see, this is a big problem that's coming up. All right. And I want to go ahead and transition to this chart here, historical tax rate chart. As you can see, um, historical tax rates were significantly higher in the past. So as you can see here in this, I think this was around World War I. Um, the tax rate was close to 80% for the top income bracket. I mean, we got almost to 100% during World War II. I mean, taxes were significantly higher for like 10 years. Um, and then, as you can see, taxes are, and many of these programs were started after the Great Depression through FDR and such, Social Security and things like that. But as you can see, taxes were like above 60%, and people were um, being taxed to death pretty much. I mean, and that was what was funding, the spending. As you can see, earned income is trending downwards as well. Um, and yeah, I mean, corporate taxes are significantly lower. I mean, it got cut down to 20%. It was at over 30% for a while and over 50% for a while, and it got cut down to 20%. And the money has to come from somewhere to be able to fund Social Security. And so, as we can see, tax rates were a lot higher. I think taxes are going to go higher in the future. That's my kind of speculation. So, with that being said, what can you actually do about this? Obviously, the basics such as getting out of debt is something that's going to be beneficial for you. If you have debt and you're able to get out of debt, get out of debt. That way you can save and you can be positive, have a positive cash flow to your savings. And so the next thing I would say is not just to save in dollars. Obviously, we transact in dollars. We need dollars, for multiple different purposes, but the value of the dollar is declining over the long term. So you have to put that capital to work somewhere to where it makes more money for you. I mean, because pretty much you are racing the depletion of Social Security. You're also racing the depletion of the devaluation of the dollar, because as we print more, we're going to devalue more. So those are some things that you have to consider. Ways that you can protect your purchasing power. Obviously, gold. Gold is a way that you can protect your purchasing power. $1, $20 would buy you an ounce of gold in the early 1900s. Now, $20 cannot even buy you a fraction. It can barely buy you a fraction of a gram of gold. Right? It went from an ounce to less than a gram. Now, gold is sitting over $2,500 an ounce. Other ways that you can protect your purchasing power is you have to beat inflation. So this means that this is your real interest rate. So the inflation rate is at, according to the government, is at like 3%, something of that nature. I think it's a lot higher than that. You have to be earning more than 3% on your money. Some people put their money into treasuries where they're able to earn 5% on those treasury bills right now. The long-term debt, you're not really getting more than 3% because the Fed is cutting rates coming up, but you have to outpace the inflation rate. The inflation is what is devaluing your dollar. So governments print money, they cause inflation, and inflation erodes the purchasing power of your dollar, because the more dollars that are in the system, the less value they have, right? Another thing that you may want to do is, look at investing in some tax advantage accounts. Some people do, like I personally do, a Roth IRA. That's because you get tax advantages with it. That's something that I do. I also do universal life policies, life insurance policies, because there are tax benefits to that, as it's written in the IRS code, where many of these assets can be passed to my children if something were to happen to me, and I won't be taxed on it, especially the life insurance policy. they won't be taxed on it. In my Roth IRA, if I, contributing post-tax dollars, I continue to build that account up, then later on I won't be taxed on that money, because even if tax rates go up to fund Social Security and fund government spending, a Roth will help protect some of that. And so those are some ways that I am protecting my purchasing power. Then obviously any type of investments into stock market and things of that nature. Obviously, you have to know what you're doing in that. You have to know the capital cycles, and when money flows into different sectors and stuff, it can definitely um, be complicated at times. So those are some ways that you can protect your purchasing power. So I hope this is helpful for some of you. I mean, I'm streaming this to Facebook and YouTube because, even the people that are on my Facebook, a lot of people I know personally, this is something that people have to take seriously, because it is definitely around the corner. 10 years, I mean, these years are just flying by like so quick. And before you know it, 10 years will be here. Many people don't plan for the future, and they may become a victim of you know spending cuts and things of that nature. And so definitely want to be mindful. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference, protect your purchasing power through whether that's gold or silver or other forms of stores of value that can't be printed. So that's what keeps it value. It's the scarcity. That's part of what keeps it helps it hold its value. And the other methods that I mentioned. So I hope that this was helpful for you all. You all be sure to take care. And I know that we are in an election season, and many people are hyped up about their candidate, whatnot. My position is that neither candidate is going to reduce the deficit spending or cut spending. So this is going to continue to spiral in the direction that it's going, in my view. And so you have to do what you can to protect yourself in this situation. So, all right, you all take care. We'll be in touch. All right, peace.